of our kids. Being an involved parent without smothering your child can be quite the balancing act.
Here now to tell us about helicopter parenting and how to keep yourself from doing it is Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living. All I keep thinking of is this big helicopter. Hi, Doc. How are you?
That is great. Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. And that's exactly what it is, right? Helicopter parenting is that same image of, hovering over, being overly protective, kind of over-parenting. And really what we're talking about more is the high school and college age kids. As a parent, when you have younger kids developmentally, you are more involved in their lives. But for those parents that engage in what we call helicopter parenting, their need to micromanage their children's lives and schedules, frequently intervene really makes things in the long run more difficult for their children.
I have a tendency to think, and I could be wrong here, that kids who have helicopter parents tend to rebel the most.
Well, it could go either way. I'm going to probably make an overgeneralization here, and a lot of those parents actually tend to be more anxious anyway. So the way that they manage their anxiety is by sort of hovering in. But many college administrators really use the term to refer to parents that continue to try and watch over their children from a distance as if they are young children again. And so it's really become problematic because it doesn't allow kids to learn on their own. So this came up to me recently because I've seen on the social media page for my daughter's college, Rutgers, I've seen parents asking things about like the heating and the cooling in the dorm, like worried that their child's going to be too cold or too warm.
Ridiculous.
And thankfully I don't comment on this, but that's what a sweatshirt's for.
Right.
If you're cold, you put on a sweatshirt. If you're hot, you put on a tank top. We don't need to be managing these details of our children's lives.
Okay, so that seems like an extreme example. I don't think I would do that, especially in my kid in college.
You never know.
But it's interesting that I saw that you said sometimes people who have had a tough childhood will end up becoming helicopter parents because maybe their parents weren't around for them or they were absent. And they're like, I hated that feeling. I want to be more involved. And they're doing it out of a place of love. What's the balancing act? Like, how do you know how to be supportive, but you've gone too far?
Right.
So, yes, and any phenomenon often has the seeds in something else. So kids that didn't like the way that they were raised, or they were really out on their own without anyone keeping track of them, might want to kind of course correct. As I said, sometimes more anxious parents want to be involved in the details. But it really can be problematic because it inhibits problem-solving skills and it leads to increased dependence on parents. And that's really concerning in our teens and in our young adults.
So what's a parent to do? Just try to exercise pulling back?
I think it takes a little bit of practice, right? And sometimes these patterns are pretty developed, so the kids don't even realize that they're being kind of micromanaged. But when you're really worried about what your college-age child is what the temperature is in their dorm room, that's a little over the top. So find small ways to allow your child to advocate for themselves. Step back and allow them to ask you and let you know when they need help. Let them manage some of it. Sometimes natural consequences are the greatest way to learn. So the more we hover in, and another term that's sometimes used is like a lawnmower or bulldozer parent, right? You just bulldoze your way, and then your kids have no hurdles or obstacles to ever manage. And so we need to allow some failure experiences for our young people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it gets really hard because it's a competitive society, but we only got 30 seconds. So I want to we'll talk deeper on this on the Kara's Cures podcast and listen, because some parents are like, oh my gosh, I see them struggling in school. I got to make sure they're doing their homework. I got to talk to the teachers. There's like wondering of caring versus helicoptering. So we're going to get a little bit more into that with more time on the podcast. Dr. Laura Saunders.
I look forward to it.
All right, now, and stop hovering. I know it was you.
It's not me. Put a sweatshirt on if you're cold.
Sometimes I feel like I have to hover with him. I guess I should let him fail.
Yeah, let me fail. No, don't. All right, thanks, Doc.